Hey everyone, welcome back to Code of the Row. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a landscape using some free materials that I found on Adobe 3D Substance Painter. So what I'm going to do is go over to this substance3d.adobe.com and just download some, let's look for some stylized materials. And I'll just download a handful of these, and they actually do look pretty good. And now over in my Unreal Engine project, I just created this new map called Land, and I just included some water into it, the BB cartoon water. And I'll go to Edit, Plugins, and I want to enable this substance in UE5, which adds support for the SBSAR textures, which is from that 3D website or Substance 3D website. Now all I'm going to do is under selection mode, I'm just going to select landscape and I'll create something of, and this size looks pretty good. And before I go ahead and click create, I'm going to need to attach some material, but I can actually go ahead and click create and apply this material later. So now I'm just going to go back to my selection mode, select this landscape, and now in the details, you're going to see that the landscape material here is empty. So I'm just going to right click, hit material, and call this landscape tutorial. And I'll double click to open the blueprint editor, drag this here. And actually what I need to do is import those Adobe materials from that Substance 3D. So I'm just going to go ahead and just drag all of the ones that I got and just drag them in and hit import a bunch of times. So over here, I'm going to add a landscape layer blend. And this is just so I can have multiple materials and paint on this landscape with different textures. So once this is selected, I'll click plus to add more elements to the array. And this is pretty much going to say how many paint textures that I want. So I'll just put in something like 8 for now because I am going to be including quite a lot into this. And I'll open this index up or this array element and call these different things. So I'll call the first one grass and the second one sand and so on. Now after this is ready, I'm just going to duplicate this and put it down here because this will be going into our normal. And this top one will be going into our base color. And now what I want to do is grab the texture and the normal of each material. So for example, when I go to the grass, I'm going to bring in that texture sample and the normal and plug both of these in to their respective material, which is going to be grass, just like this. And I'll make some room and do this for the rest of them. All right, and now that this is done, I will hit save. And you could add a constant value for the roughness to be 1 by just holding 1 on your keyboard and left clicking, or just typing in constant after you right click. Set this to 1 and just tag this into the roughness, just so there's no shine on your landscape. So I'll just leave it like this for now, and then I'll hit apply. And now your landscape material is ready to be used. So this is very basic and simple and perfect for beginners. And now what you're going to do is attach that landscape material that you created into the landscape material node here. And now it'll look kind of dark as if there's no paint, but once you go to your landscape material here, select paint. Now what you're going to do is create some sort of layer info for each of these textures. So I'll hit this plus icon to create a layer info, and we'll select weight blended layer normal. And I'll just save it into this material folder that I created. And I'll do the same for all of them. Now I can change the strength of the brush, change the brush size over here, and so on. And now that all the layer info is attached, basically this landscape will now know the saved data on it and which material is supposed to go where. So if I select sand and just scrape it through, the material might phase out or just buzz out for a second because it needs to know where, or it just needs to load in the texture. So you might see some compiling shaders while you do this if the material is not loaded already. And I can just paint over it. And now you'll see, because I have a strength of 1, it's going immediately where I touch the cursor, and there is some fall off over here. So if I were to do something like mud, you'll see this kind of layout, and then water, cliff, lava, and so on. And if I were to do something like less strength, for example, here, and a smaller brush size maybe a little bit more of a fall off, then you'll see that my grass layer now is not really affecting it as much. It's kind of blending in together, like so. So you'll see it fade from one material to another, and it'll slowly become so perfectly grass over here, and it's slowly fading into that sand 2 texture that I faded this part with. And now that I've dragged on my water, I can go back to my landscape and do some stuff with the sculpt function. So for example, I can sculpt to increase these hill type areas and so on, and kind of give it more of some landscape type of texture. I can also flatten it like so, And you can create ramps, which is going to be one point to another. And if you raise it and hit enter, you'll see that these little pathways are made. So if I hit enter again or raise it and hit enter on the keyboard, it will start creating these little ramps. And what you could also do is just paint the sides, for example, to make it a little more realistic. And you can smooth it out and so on. So now, for example, if I wanted to make a simple beach, all I would really do is just go to sculpt, maybe add some erosion. And while sculpting, I'll hold shift and left click to kind of move this downwards a bit. So for example, if I wanted all of this to be the beach and on this side too, maybe, and you'll see that it kind of went down a bit more than I wanted it to. So I'm just going to undo that using Control Z. And then I will just reduce the tool strength by a lot. So it'll go down. I just want it to go barely in the water. And now this looks pretty nice. Maybe I'll do a lot more right in this corner here, just to give it that deep end looking feel. And now when I go to paint, add some sand to it, you'll see that it's getting a very beachy vibe. So now it'll look like a beach with some sand on it, and you can see the waterfront and so on. And that's a quick demonstration on the landscape. Feel free to play with this as much as you want. You can even go into more complex features, such as if you have grass nodes, for example, when you paint on it, it'll automatically spawn grass foliage and plants and so on. And muds can automatically spawn rocks and stuff. And there's a lot you can do with landscape. But for this beginner tutorial, I'm going to end it right here. Thanks for watching Code Tutorial. Like, subscribe, comment below what you want to see next. And the link of our Discord channel and Patreon is in the link below in the description. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.